Tap for sound. Okay, how do I come down? Take that out. How do I take that out? Yes. How do I take that out? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good evening. How's everybody? Hello, my beautiful sunblazers and heroes. How you guys doing today? Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Rosie Lastra Podcast, where we shine light in the darkest places and turn our struggles into strengths. I'm Rosie, and just like you, I walked through valleys, faced challenges, and learned that even in the hardest spots and hardest moments, there's always a spark that wants to rise. This is a safe place where we laugh, we cry, and most of all, we grow together. Because here, your story matters, your healing matters, and you matter. Let's blaze the trail of hope together. Before we dive into our new guest tonight, let me share a little bit about your captain in flight. That's me. I'm a transformation, healing, and confidence coach who bridges spiritual principles with analytical practices to help men and women 35 to 65 turn grief into growth and loss into legacy. Through this work, I guide clients to align mind, body, and spirit so they can reclaim their health, resilience, confidence, and step boldly into a renewed life of purpose. For years, I lived a life grounded in logic. I was an accounting controller, but everything changed on January 9th, 2015, when I received a divine dream. In that dream, Jeremy's presence ignited a mission far greater than I could have ever imagined. A uniting humanity through faith, healing, and testimony. What once was routine became revelation. My son Jeremy truly ignited the fire because unfortunately he passed away on September 15, 2024 from a rare form of liver cancer. 10 months later, after his passing, Jeremy's Unity Flight was born. Not just a name, but a movement rising from love, grief, and divine assignment. Today, my warriors and heroes, uh, I will be talking to an amazing person. I'm super excited because he's very deep and dear to my heart. And it's he too went through his share of grief, and rose on the other side. He became an author, and he wrote a book. The title of the book is "Yes, Dear is Not the Answer." And he's a husband, a father, an author, and soon to be a certified Warriors and Queens program relationship coach. He is dedicated to healing, helping men rise in leadership, faith, and purpose. With a master's degree in theology and certification through the Warriors and Queens coaching program, he equips men to lead with strength and conviction. As the author of Yes, Dear is Not the Answer, a game-changing guide for men at the crossroads, Pedro challenges men to stop living passively and step into their God-given role as protectors and leaders in their homes. All right, Pedro, let me bring you on board. At let me go ahead and get.
Wepa.
Are you there? Hey Pedro, how
I'm
you doing,
I'm
sweetheart?
here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good, good.
Wepa. This
Hey.
is so cool. You got it well organized, Rosie. You're a rock star. Look at this.
Well, actually, this is only like my eighth podcast. I'm getting there, baby. I'm still not 100, but
You're
one of these days.
you're rocking it. I love it. I love it. I love the setup. I love the. I'm like, whoa, this is more professional than I expected myself. This is a very good job. You
Thank
you
you.
are something else, Rosie. I give it up to you because I know some of a lot of your journey, and at the same time, you are daring and willing to do things that make you uncomfortable, things that are new, um, and that says a lot about you as a person. So I'm grateful that you invited me here. I'm grateful for your journey. I'm where you're going through your movement, through your podcast, and all the people you're gonna be impacting and just touching and blessing. So I'm excited to be here with you.
I thank you, my love. I appreciate it. I'm humbled by you. Okay. Let me ask you something, Pedro. Tell us a little bit about, I said a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit more about your journey and how you went through your stages of grief and how you came out, how your book came into existence. Tell us a little
Good.
bit about that.
So this I'm gonna be 100%. This is gonna be kind of like raw because we did not practice or rehearse this at all.
And I tell you, I come from the heart. I come from the spirit, baby. Let's go.
So, so this is gonna be fun. So for
That's my
those who don't know me, my name is Pedro Claudius Gonzalez. I'm a Dominican originally from New York City. I lived in the Dominican Republic for some time. I am a father, a husband, newly husband, a an author, and aspiring to be coach pretty soon in relationship. And I believe that God has allowed me to go through some things in life, specifically with relationship, and also a fatherly love, um, as an older brother, I used to be a foster parent, also a foster father. Um, God has used me in these areas as a man to be there for other men, as I didn't have a lot of that growing up. When I was 14, well, just backtrack a little bit. I grew up. It's gonna sound funny, and I don't know if you know this, Rosie, but I grew up in between Dominican Republic and New York City. 1 year here, 1 year over there. 1 year here, 1 year over there, like that, until I was 14 years old. Okay, so if you think about it, imagine it. That can cause a lot of instability for a very young individual. You know. At the
Mhm.
same
Oh, yeah.
time, it can create a lot of perseverance because I had to learn to just be everywhere, not to create a lot of friends. Like I didn't have a lot of real close friends growing up because I wasn't staying in one place. I was going from one school then to another school, then another school
Right.
until I was 14. After that, I I really developed a little bit of friendship, but I never really got grounded and did I really didn't do a lot of roots, kind of like a plant. You see a tree, I couldn't grow roots because I was being uprooted all the time and being placed in other places. And then when when I grew up in my teens after high school, I went to college. Was I went away from my home, and while I was away from my home, I did internships and summer school programs, which were like I was traveling in China. Then I traveled to Japan. I did my internship in Costa Rica. And then I fell in love with traveling. So think about it, me uprooting, being like this all over the place, and then fell in love with traveling. And then I got into the travel company where we met,
Right.
which I was just traveling even more. So I never really got grounded in one place, actually, until recently here in Florida, where I reside now. But yeah, a lot of that experience me growing up, and I can, go in a little bit deeper into my story as a father, how I met my ex and the grief through that. A little bit in the grief with my grandma passing away not that long ago. But just saying that part of my story to say that has a lot to say in like how that I became to be the man that I am today with the challenges and even the things that trigger me because these things matter. All these things matter. And I started realizing it more and more deeper, getting into the teachings with warriors and queens as I got certified. I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, I'm just gonna say this. I didn't like hearing myself. Like if I recorded something or somebody was like, you know, sharing a video of myself, I would not like to hear it because I grew up with the constant, I was always in ESL because I was being so uprooted from one place to one place to one place. I was always in ESL growing up. So the thought that was playing behind my mind is that you don't speak, you don't know, you can barely speak English, so why would you speak? Why would you want to like even hear yourself? You might sound funny in front of people, and like these are the things that were playing behind me, and that was making a mask of me not being able to move forward. We all have those things, but those are some of the things that I have to face because these are just stories we tell ourselves
Right.
because of the things that we were going through. Me growing up, that's why I share that. But the Lord has been merciful to even through the struggle, through the grief, to show me that He has a purpose for me, that He has given me a voice that many whatchamacallit, um,
Missing or lacking.
are missing and
Right.
lacking. And I'm here for that. So I'm excited. I gave a little bit, or if y'all give more about my grief in a moment, but let me know if you have any questions before I continue.
Yeah, it's so I never knew that. So in other words, as you know, I just overcame my fear of being able to be on camera. So that's similar to what you're talking about there. I had no clue you went through that too.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, how did you think you came out of it? Did you follow any specific steps, or you just went with your heart and what God called you to do?
So this is the thing. I'm very into personal development, and I knew that for me to grow, I have to get uncomfortable because the comfort zone is the death zone, right? So one of my mentors a long time ago told me, and I was like scared of speaking with people in general, just like for example, like strangers. I didn't like to do that, so I started getting out of my comfort zone. And I'm gonna start off with this. When I was 14, I started this. When I moved here for high school, when I moved to New York, I used to do magic tricks back in the day
Uh-huh.
because I couldn't speak English like that, or I was afraid, but I wanted to make friends, so I used to do magic because magic is more like, you know, is it's just
Right.
it's not verbal, it's physical. People say, "Oh my goodness, look at that," whatever. So I used to do that, and that's one thing that I did to make friends. And then another one to get out of my comfort zone is I started talking to a lot of strangers in Times Square. Me and a friend of mine, we used to listen to these audios about, you want to make sales, you want to, your cold market is the biggest market. You got to go talk to people. So we go into the street, just talk to strangers, come up with random stuff. That's why some people like look at me and sometimes I say weird stuff, but it's because of these things that I developed it through there. Also, when comes to Warriors and Queens, the program that is about relationship is so actually deeper. Is an unshakable love mastery for self-love as well. And one of the on the modules I'm gonna share this is that they have you to do something that you're very scared of. And and when they ask me about that, I'm like, I'm not scared of anything. Like I could talk, I can do presentations in front of people, da, 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 da. Like I'm not scared of an animal. If I gotta fight, I'll fight. Whatever the case, I'm not scared, you know. And then we're going through the trigger questions, like what triggers you? What about this? What about that? And we were going deeper, and I started noticing, I'm like, I don't like hearing myself, and I became uncomfortable. So the challenge that one of um my partner, her name is Kelsey, and the module that we're doing, she
Right.
told me, well, you have to, listen to yourself. And when I heard that I have to listen to myself, I started feeling like I was bleeding from my ear. And I was not even listening to myself. I'm like, oh my goodness, what is this trigger? It's like this manifestation in my body, like it's telling me something. I'm uncomfortable. And I'm like, but this doesn't allow me to grow. If because I don't want to hear myself. How am I going to be able to to like be better if I can hear myself and see where I can improve if I don't hear myself. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I see where that has cost me a lot of things because even for many things, I have never used my voice because I didn't want to hear my voice. Like for example, I could have done my audio book with my voice, but I didn't want to hear my voice. So I paid somebody. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is costing me money. This is costing me growth because I want my daughter to see a man that is willing to do and get uncomfortable in the things that are possible. So yeah. And I remember when I put it to practice, I started hearing myself. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so hard. It felt like somebody was drilling. And I don't know if anybody else has had that fear, because I know for some people it can be camera shy or whatnot, but for me it was like hearing myself, and it was like somebody was drilling in my ear, and I'm like, oh, but I've been doing some exercises through that because it's still a growing process.
So you
Um,
just keep doing it over and over and over again, right?
Over and over. Like this
I
podcast later on, hopefully, I
uh
don't know if it's recorded, if it's going on live on YouTube or not, because
yes, yes,
it's
yes.
live on YouTube.
It's on YouTube, it's on Facebook and Instagram. As a
Oh,
matter, yeah, it's on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.
okay, perfect. I just want to make sure that I save it for myself because it's a homework now that I have for myself later. I gotta hear it. But
I,
yeah,
I,
that's one way that I have coped with it for growth, for growing purposes.
I
Hmm.
do. And it's funny because I did a podcast a few weeks back on on how to overcome fear, and neuroscience pretty much explains the best way to come out of it. And I'm listening to you, and you went through all the steps. First of all, you identified what the fear was, right? You figured out it was hearing your own voice, right?
Hmm.
Then you're still working through doing repetitiveness over and over and over again until you're able to break through. And then the final step is doing messy, inadequate action. And that's what you're doing. So God
That's
bless you,
right.
sweetheart. So let's
Yeah.
talk a little bit about your book. Give us some insight about your book, sweet Pedro.
So, first of all, I have two copies here just so people can see it, all right? This is the book. It's called Yes is not the answer in español. We have it, lo tenemos en español también. Sí, mi amor, no es la respuesta. It is a heavy kind of like you would say name. It's a heavy name because it requires strength to be picked up. Okay, I'm gonna repeat that one more time. This is a heavy name because it requires strength to be picked up. I told my wife this. I'll tell you this. I told my wife this and a few people from the event that we were last weekend. I wrote this book so that worldly women don't get near me. Okay?
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's one of the reasons. Like the title, it's a kind of like a worldly woman repellent because we're not about the mindset about saying yes for anything. Um, and one of the inspiring thoughts. Go ahead.
Sorry,
For
hold on,
anything.
hold on a minute. I've got.
And one of the
Hold on.
inspiring thoughts.
I have to close that. Sorry, I was trying to go on Facebook to see who is right, who is
It's
talking.
all good. It's all
This,
good.
this is like I said, this is fairly new, so I was trying to see who is commenting, and I accidentally went loud. So we are live on Facebook.
We're live on Facebook too, and on YouTube and everything. That's good.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
and LinkedIn.
and LinkedIn. So one of the inspiring thought of it, and I'm gonna give you a little bit, is in the beginning in the introduction. I was on a cruise, and in the cruise, I'm not sure if you guys know whoever been on a cruise, but after dinner, you go to this place where there's like a shows, and there was this the host of the show or whatever want to call it, he started asking people in front of the audience, like, hey, just to get some engagement or whatnot. He started asking people, who here has been like married for longer than 40 years? And they singled out a couple. And the couple, it was a 77-year-old man and his wife. And he said, the host asked the 77-year-old man, what is the secret to a long, happy marriage. And, without skipping a beat, the guy said, say yes to her for everything. Yes, dear is the answer. That's what he said. He said, yes, dear. And everybody in the audience said, ha ha. They were laughing. So people, I could see people putting this in their tool belt, like, you know what? I'm just gonna say yes, dear to her. Happy wife, happy life. I don't know if you guys, are familiar with that
Mhm.
saying, happy wife, happy life. They put it on the
Always,
tool
yeah.
belt,
You say it a
and
lot.
they
Yeah.
were laughing, and then I kept going from there. But something in me was stirring up, and I believe it was the Holy Spirit said, mm-mm-mm, you know this better than anybody, Pedro. You got something to say about this. And that's actually um, the first day I started writing about that book. Now, the thought in the sense of it, I've been going through the process in through my past marriage and through my previous relationships, and it was building up. But that was the day that I first started writing it. I'm like, happy wife, happy life. What a scam! Because I was that happy wife, happy life man. I was the poster boy. I was the passive boy. I thought passivity meant peace, but it's actually a lack of purpose. I started realizing that with time. I was just leaning back and letting somebody else take my role, and I played a big part in my divorce because of it. So I write about that in my book on how yes, there's not the answer, and how many men are taking the same role that I was taking, was being more like of a passenger instead of the leader of the relationship.
Mhm.
And I guide them out of that and teach them what is really the role that you have to play. And I do that by pairing it up with practical insights and my own practical insights and a lot of biblical stories that parallel to the things that I went through. So, and I'm just gonna give you an example. Um, Chapter one is called No, and is a story between Adam and Eve. And all of the chapters have to do with a story of a couple in the Bible. Okay? And one little cool thing about it also, for those who are gonna get it, my daughter, actually, this is my daughter right here. She's on the book, and she's actually the
She's beautiful.
Esther, my daughter Esther. She's actually the illustrator of the book. So, for example, every chapter it has an art, and there's like an EG somewhere. There's an EG. Where's the EG? EG right here because Esther illustrated it. So my daughter also is part of this book. She
Oh,
did,
wow.
and also whoever is getting the book and supporting us is um, I say this in all seriousness. Every dollar paid for this book, a portion of the dollar goes to feed hungry children.
Nice.
And the hungry children is Esther. Okay, a portion of the book is to feed Esther because Esther likes eating. so, so I appreciate the support because we're feeding that little hungry one. She's like in the growth spur season right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a little bit of my book. We can talk about the grief or anything. Let me know if you got any questions before we
So
go
let me,
through.
well, let me ask you one more thing about the grief. There's a lot of women out there, I'm sure, tell you, oh, uh, but what about women? What about women that are being abused or beaten up, or men that are overpowering? What's your take on that?
So it's a beautiful, beautiful question. And I know the title of the book, it might seem like I'm talking against book, but this book is actually putting men in their place. I'm gonna repeat that one more time. This book is really about putting men in their place. It's not about ruling as a tyrant, as a dominator. No, it's ruling with dominion. And when I'm talking about dominion, it's with biblical dominion. So it's like for a man that is reading this book, it will put, I'll put this book puts them in their place about what you gonna call it, like maltreatment. If you're being very manipulating and all that stuff, like this comes against all that stuff. I'm not pushing for men to be just the leaders, like whatever it costs. No, there's actually a big cost to be a leader in the family. And I'm just gonna reference this. The leader in the family, the role of the man, just like it says in Ephesians in the Bible, is to give his life for his wife. And there's a lot of mystery in that. There's a lot of mystery in that. But it's the same thing as Christ gave his life for the church. Us men are to go through a process to do the same thing for women. And that's why it says for women to submit themselves to their husband as to as Christ submits himself, as the church submits themselves to Christ. It's a beautiful mystery. It's a beautiful mystery, and I talk about it in depth in my book.
And
Because
I read
uh,
several chapters. I haven't finished it off, but I know
mhm,
your heart is sad. I know that you come from a place that men have to treat their wives right, and they have to listen to their wives. And it's all about a balance and being rooted in the word. So I get it.
100%,
So I just
100%.
want women out there to know that it doesn't come from a male chauvinistic place. It comes from a place of love. It comes from a place of balance. It comes from a place of what a husband and a wife should. Uh, I mean, at Warriors and Queens, they talk about when you're able to relate to each other, when it's able, because people don't realize that this planet kind of makes life counterintuitive. You Everything you think you should do is what you shouldn't do, and everything you don't think is what you do. So I get it. So yes, I just want them to know that it comes from a place of love, and it comes from a place of understanding, and not from a dark place at all. So that's
Yes.
what I wanted to cover. And thank you,
Yeah.
Pedro. You're amazing. So let's go back. Let's go back into how what you said that you wrote the book primarily to keep the people away, but what was the point, the breaking point that said you said, aha, maybe I need to write a book? Where was that moment?
So, to being transparent, I did not want to write this book. God put this book in my heart. I have a few other titles of a book that I'm working on, but this one is the one that the Lord has been ministering to me for it. And the breaking point was and it's in my book because there's a lot of stories in my book where I was a yes dear man. Okay, but I'll say a breaking point, a big one was there was a time in my marriage where we were going back and forth. We got together, we got back together, we got separated, we got back together. We wanted to make it work, like from the bottom of our hearts. We didn't want to. The thing is, at one point we didn't know how to. At one point, we just gave up. And also, there's also a point where it's okay to let go. It's okay to let go. There's also a point to do that. But one of the points where I learned this lesson big time, and it's not placing blame on nobody, because yes, dear, it's not the answer. This is I'm telling you this statement is for a man. I remember we bought an RV. We bought an RV. One of those mobile homes.
Right.
First of all, I'm Dominican from the Bronx. I have nothing to do with living in an RV. Okay, like, what do I have to do? I have no business doing that. But due to circumstances in our life, at first I was very opposed to it. But my ex, she brought good reasons on why we would do it, and it made sense financially. It made sense, being together and all that stuff. We can save money, we can do this, we can live, it'll be an adventure, boom, boom, boom. But what ended up happening after we spent money for the RV, we bought it cash. I ended up living in the RV by myself because things in our relationship weren't as stable. And when those moments came up again. We were apart from each other, and at the end of the day, as the man, I was not gonna have somebody live and that, and we finances was going hard. Like, and I'm like, what are we gonna do with this stuff? What ended up happening is I ended up living in the RV. Okay, so I ended up paying for it financially. I paid for it emotionally because imagine somebody who's never lived in an RV, learning all these things, moving everything around, moving a car, hooking it up, moving it. It takes a toll on you. I'm like, what am I doing here? This is not somebody else's fault. This is my fault for not standing my ground and not leading properly. Because either we would have been together or not. I could have set myself up for success and be okay for my daughter. And even though the moments and the times that I was living there, it was cool. It was an experience. My daughter loved it more than I did because she doesn't have to do the background work and all that stuff. It's still something that I had to pay for, and I learned that time very hard. And I'm like, I'm not gonna be um my decision is not gonna be wavered due to emotion, due to finances, due to situations. No, 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 no. The Bible says a double-minded man, no, you're good. It's unstable in all of his ways. You're good.
Sorry.
I like that beat anyways. You're good. I, s- but yeah, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. So I had to claim my position on what I want, know who I was, and at the same time be firm about where I'm going. Because at the end of the day, like I told you earlier in my story, I was moving on a whole lot, and also through my relationship, we moved a little bit a lot too, to the point where God met me in that RV. All right, God told me, look, you have moved so much around that look where you are right now. You're in an RV. You can't where you can't get rooted. Where you gonna get ground? You're gonna keep moving around. You're gonna keep moving around. I'm like, oh my goodness. I think I was like 30 years old at that time. I'm 30 years old, or probably 31. And look, I have done a lot. I've worked a lot. I've bought homes, but I'm in an RV right now. I felt like I was in jail for a second. I'm like, oh my goodness. Look, I'm trapped into this life. And I decided to sell everything and start fresh and start moving with different decisions. And that's when the Lord was putting this type of message in my heart, where I was gonna be firm about what I said I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna do it. And after that, I moved to Florida. And, eventually we separated. And one of the reasons you might see my office is kind of like hippie-ish, because it's kind of like my style because of the way that I grew up and through my journey, which I like it. Like
It's
what better
kind of cool.
place.
I like it. I like it. I
I
think it's pretty.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. It's like an outside, it's like an exterior, but it's an interior. It's covered. No mosquitoes can bother me. But I like this type of stuff, and it's like my feel. It fills up my energy. But
It's
the
a,
Lord used all of that stuff to make me who I am, and to be able to understand men that might be going through a similar process, that they might have probably lost a lot of money. They probably went through a lot of stress. And I would say it would be primarily they're doing. And I understand there's a lot of things, influences and people, but at the end of the day, we are men. We have power. We're not powerless. Just like women have power, as men, we have been given authority and we don't have to bend. We can be
you
like
know
a
what?
rock.
You know
Yeah.
what I noticed, Pedro, with women is we think we want to be, we think we want to be the head of the household. We think we want it all, but next thing we know, we got all this stuff on our shoulders. And from all that stuff being on our shoulders, we are
Hmm.
mothers, we are cleaners, we are everything. And before you know it, man's doing nothing but working and coming home. The wife's doing everything else. And we don't
Yes.
realize that's where the counterintuitive comes. Because
A
now all
hundred
of a sudden,
percent.
you become bitter and you become angry and you fight all the time. And women don't realize that when you allow the man to be a man and you allow the man to lead, it releases pressure from us because Now you're taking ownership. You are being part of the family, which is the way it should be. It's not that. So yeah, so I get it. And that's what that book is all about. So I love you for that. God bless you, Pedro. But I want to do a few little bit lightning round, and I want to
Yep.
ask you real quick.
Go.
What's one habit you changed in your life? Yeah, you think is the best thing you ever did.
One of the best things that I ever did is start listening to a Proverbs every day, depending on the day that it is. For example, today is the 10th. A Proverbs has 31 chapters, so it matches perfectly to the date of the calendar of the month. So I believe the Lord made it perfectly so for us to use it because it is wisdom. It's the book of wisdom. So I'll say every day listen to a chapter or read it. I listen to it because I love audios. I wake up listening to Proverbs. Depending on the day, I listen to that one. That's one thing that really changed me from the and I've
Awesome.
been doing this
Awesome.
for since I was 22
Okay.
years old.
Awesome. Awesome. Favorite song that lifts your spirit?
You said favorite song that lifts my spirit?
Yes.
I love a lot of songs, but I'll say right now it'll be Juan Luis Guerra, La Noviecita, because I recently got married and I like dancing that little merengue.
And God, you guys dance real good. I saw it at the event. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
If you could describe emotional healing in one sentence, what would it be?
Emotional healing in one sentence or one word?
One sentence.
I'll say Jehovah Rapha, which means, Jehovah the healer. That he's gonna be the one that does the healing for you. Trust him.
Nice, nice, nice. Okay, what would you tell the younger version of yourself today?
To read my book and buy it. But for that, I'll have to. I'm just
Cool,
playing.
cool, cool.
I say, read the Bible. Read the Bible. It's real. That's one thing I'll say. It's real.
Okay,
It's not
awesome.
fantasy.
All right, guys, Pedro's giving a special podcast offer. Anyone who purchases Yes Dear is not the answer on the day of this podcast episode will receive a free ebook version of a gift as a gift. I'm sorry.
Hmm.
Uh, and you can find the details of the book on yesdearsnottheanswer.com. Okay. Uh, Pedro, can you tell my Sunblazers and Heroes where they could find you?
Yep.
All the places they could find you at.
100%, 100%. And yes, I'll give just to reiterate on what you were saying, for the next 24 hours, anybody who buys the book, English or Spanish, I'll be giving that free audiobook. So just let Rosie know or let me know. You guys can find me on Instagram, Pro Guns. Everything just about me is Pro Guns. I believe YouTube also, Pro Guns. You spell it PROGONZ. Shout out to my boy Sean. He's Sean Rama. He's the one that gave me that name, and I've been holding on to it for like probably 12, 10 years now. Progons,
Okay.
okay? Progons, everything. Find me there. And on Amazon also, you can find my book, Yes, There's Not the Answer. And one more thing, you guys will be surprised, but if you guys look into the review section of my book, beautiful comments by a lot of women. You'll be surprised.
No,
But
because it's true. I
yes.
mean, it does. It's a balance. I love it. I love it. All right, my love. My guys, my takeaway from this whole conversation is number one, like I said, or like Pedro said, men need to step up and women need to let men be men. Okay. We think we want to be the queen bee. We want to run everything. But honestly speaking, you really don't want to. I mean, it is a lot of pressure. It is a lot of stress. And that's where all the arguments come in. So when you can both run the nest and a man can be the leader, it's a beautiful thing. It turns, and I've seen it time and time again. So, and the other thing is that, you know uh we're all here for a purpose, and yes, you can overcome fear, and we can all take our biggest grief, and we could either make it our why nots or our why two. And Pedro and I both make it our why twos, and we made it. You can make it bigger, so it's let's keep it, make everything. Let's turn like let's turn lemons into lemonade. Okay, let's make beauty out of all the bitterness that in this world. So, all right. Thank you very much. Enjoyed being with you guys tonight. To my some listener here is listening in. Before I wrap up, I want to share something special with you guys. On October 20th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, I will be hosting my very first free masterclass called Crossing the Gap from Grief to Purpose. If you or someone you know is walking through grief, trauma, or illness, I invite you to join me for this transformational experience. Together, we'll bridge the gap between grief, action, perspective, and purpose, and discover how to turn pain into power and loss into legacy, which is what Pedro and I did. If you are or someone I'm sorry. I apologize. Like I said, bear with me. This is all new for me. I promise this
Okay.
will be one of the most impactful classes you'll ever experience. And I'm doing some things in there that are off the chain amazing. And remember, no matter what you're facing, the light within you is always stronger than the darkness around you. So keep shining, keep rising, and keep believing in the miracle of your own journey. Until next time. See you all later. Keep blazing and have a wonderful and blessed evening.
Thank you for having me, Rosie. You're a
Thank you.
rock star.
I
Amazing,
love you.
amazing job. Thank you.